and welcome back to Georgian Bay Live with William Myles. And tonight we're doing Hero Talk with Dr. Hanni Darwish. Welcome to another special. Today is National Doctors Day. That's right. And Hanni is a doctor. And I'm really happy to interview a local hero and my friend. We'll start with a little introductions. I'm William Myles, local realtor with LePage, and in Midland, a community influencer with my Georgian Bay live social media. And I interview local leaders and businesses in the area that do amazing things for the communities, Tiny Tay, Midland, Penetang, and surrounding areas, of course. Today, I am super pumped to talk to the local physician, Dr. Hanni Darwish. He's a family physician who's been practicing in Midland since 2012. Grew up in rural Nova Scotia and obtained degrees at the universities of Mount Allison and McGill before attending Queen's University for medical school. He moved to the area with Katie Catini, a family physician who works in the same office. And Hanni is also involved with the Georgian Bay General Hospital and North Simcoe Family Health Team, and that is the family health network consisting of 18 physicians, local physicians. And he's also involved with infection prevention and control at Georgian Bay General Hospital. Hi, Vicky. Thanks for joining. We are being safe. We're talking through the computer, so it's perfect. So welcome, Hanni, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Let's start by getting to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about why you became a doctor.
Well, early on, I knew that I loved school and I really liked science and math. And both my parents were in the healthcare field. My dad was a social worker. My mom was a nurse.
Very cool.
But even with all that, it never really crossed my mind to be a doctor. So I went through most of my life not even, thinking about that. And so eventually I, went through high school and university, and I was halfway into a master's degree when I realized that being like a researcher and a professor, which is what I was gunning for, wasn't really panning out the way I thought it would. It was a long stretch to get to where I wanted to be, and I was becoming less enthusiastic about it. So I thought about other options, and then it was only at that time that I thought, oh, maybe being a doctor would be really awesome. And so I was thinking about all the things about it. It incorporated a lot of things that I loved. So, science and education, interacting with patients. I was missing that a lot when I was at a research bench with test tubes and stuff. So all of those things made a lot of sense to me. And then thinking about being a family doctor in particular made a lot of sense. I really love the ideas of dealing with the very young and the very old and everyone in between. I like the idea of occasionally solving a mystery, like something's presenting in front of you and you have to really figure it out, and you need to draw from a lot of different fields because you're supposed to know a lot about a lot of things. But the majority of the time, you're just trying to help people navigate through the system, understand their health, educate them, empower them to know more about their health. And all the while, building a nice relationship with them.
So it's very true, and you're very caring. It sounds to me, though, one of the coolest part about being doctors, like putting together this sort of mystery puzzle and trying to solve that.
It is really cool, but it's frustrating when you can't solve the mystery. And also, most of the time, there's no mystery. It is diabetes or...
Okay, yeah, it's not like you're doing Dr. House medicine.
Not every day is Dr. House.
Not every day. And why? Okay, that's really cool. That's cool. You sort of switched mid-stride to become a doctor. And now tell us a little bit about why Midland and why the area.
That was honestly a bit of a fluke. This was not something that I chose to do initially. That was not my intention. So as you said, I grew up in rural Nova Scotia. I grew up in a place called Somerset, which is a little hamlet of maybe 200 or 300 people.
Okay.
So very, very rural. And I knew that I didn't really want to settle down in a big city eventually. So I loved the idea of rural medicine when I got into med school. And it was med school that I met Katie Catini, who's now my wife. And she was also interested in doing rural medicine. She did some electives far up north. And so together, when we applied for, doing our training in family medicine, we ended up at the University of Toronto Rural Program. And so that's sort of a smaller offshoot. And it has a few different communities that were set up. And that was only the second year that Midland was accepting residents to come up for the full year, for like 1 or 2 years. And honestly, like, by the time we showed up with like the other 6 students that were accepted, everyone else said, oh, we have family ties in Orangeville or Aurelia. And Katie and I said, okay, what's left? And it was Midland. And so neither one of us had ever been to Midland before.
It's interesting, eh?
Okay, let's give it a shot. It's only for 1 year for residency. So
why not?
So let's do it. So we came to visit. We had a tour around. We started our final year of residency here, and all of the physicians we worked with and the staff and the community members were so welcoming, and it felt right. I love the balance of all of the outdoorsy things you can do, hiking and canoeing and cycling. That was all great. It reminded me a lot of home, and it's still close enough so that I could get back to Nova Scotia to see my family, because it's not that far to get to the airport. So it seemed like it was a good balance of everything.
That's really.
After we were there for a year, we locumed, so we did some short-term placements in Northern Ontario for a bit, and then came back to Midland in late 2012. And Katie and I have been set up in that office ever since.
That is very cool. That is very cool. And you know what? It's nice too, because you do get that rural aspect here. You get the beautiful country, everything you said, the canoeing, and then if you want to go to Barrie, you're 45 minutes. If you want to go to Toronto, you're an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on traffic, or more. Depending on what time of day.
When I went to university at Mount Allison, so that's a town. At the time, it's a town of about 4,000 people, 4,500 people, and that's when all the students in the university were there. So it's not a big place, but to me it was huge.
Well, you came from 300. Yeah.
I remember going to school with people that were from Montreal or Ottawa, and they'd say, oh, this place only has 2 pizza places and 3 bars. This is ridiculous. And I thought to myself, it has 2 pizza places, 3 bars. This is amazing.
This is huge. What are you talking about? Yeah, perspective.
And having a movie theater with more than 1 room like this. I'm quite happy.
Yeah, right? That's so cool. We're glad you stayed. You have a 2.5-year-old daughter. Is she getting closer to 3?
Almost 3.
Almost 3 now. That's what I thought. And you said, your wife is also a doctor. So right now, with everything going on, how are you kind of juggling with the childcare and still having to, both of you being in an essential frontline service? How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, that is difficult. It's very difficult. So Miriam used to be going to daycare 5 days a week. And it was nice that, there would be a couple of days where I might have lighter days, and maybe I'd take her swimming at the Y and then bring her to daycare. Or when Katie would have a half day off and bring her to a music class before bringing her to daycare. So we had a bit of flexibility and time built in to catch up on paperwork and things too. But now there's no daycare. And so we have to rearrange everything. So 2.5 days a week I'm working, and Katie is at home with Miriam. And the other 2.5 days a week she's working, and I'm at home with Miriam. So there's never really any downtime. I would love to say that it's easier being at home, but honestly, it's probably easier dealing with patients. I love her to death. She is it was she's lit up my life. It's amazing that we have her. But there are times that she is very difficult.
She's almost 3. Yep.
I appreciate the difficulty with anyone dealing with young kids at this time at home, because it is definitely a lot of work. So we're trying to always be juggling that back and forth.
Yeah, it makes it, especially right now, it's tough. It's really tough. But you know what? And like you said, these are times that the kids are really going to remember. I think, as part of, especially at 3 years old, they don't understand it anyways. So it's cool that they just get to be at home and mom and dad are home with them when normally we wouldn't be.
Well, it's nice that we get to spend so much time with her and seeing all of her the language and just the reasoning, all that's blossoming. It's really great to be around for that a lot. But you can tell there are parts of it that are getting to her. So there was one day, this was about a month ago now, where we ordered a couple of toys to come through the mail, just something new to help her, stay entertained. And I was at the front door when they came, and I said, "Oh, Miriam, I have a surprise for you." And she ran right up to me and she said, "Friends?"
Oh, no, not yet. Soon. Hopefully soon we can. Yeah, that's heartbreaking, eh?
There was a time too that she's getting more used to this being the new norm.
Yeah.
So there's a time that we just wanted to go for a little drive just to get out of some of the monotony. So we put her in the car seat. It had been a while since she'd been in the car seat, and we drove her out a little bit. And she said to us after about 5 minutes, she said, "Can we go inside?" I said, "Mary, we just left. We've been stuck in the house. We're trying to get out and do something else. We're not going to go back home right now." She said, "Well, can we go to another inside?" That's an interesting way of putting it. No, actually, none of those places are available right now.
We can't go inside anything right now. No.
You're down.
Yeah, that's it. We've done a little bit of driving like that too. Like you said, try to break up the sort of monotony or the similarities of daily life. But even then, it's okay. Hop in the car. Let's go for a little ride around. And yeah, the kids are. It's for us. We're going for a drive. We're going to look at the water from the car, and then we'll turn around and come home.
That must be hard because you have 3 kids at home, right?
I do. Yeah, it's. Sometimes they entertain themselves, and sometimes they don't. But it's you're always keeping an eye on them. They're all under 5 and under, almost 6, and 4. But yeah, still they're still young enough. You're watching them, and so are you doing anything to relax? Do you do a yoga? Are you? Do you have any new hobbies, or do you have any free time? It doesn't sound like it, but.
Yeah, so we don't have a lot of free time, as I was saying, but we're trying to encourage Miriam to be more outdoorsy, and so because those are some of the things that we used to love, like just going for bike rides and going for hikes and walks. So we've been trying to do that more and just encouraging her to enjoy the outdoors more. So I'm looking forward to the warmer weather when it will be easier to get her outside.
Yeah,
we're trying to do that from time to time. We're living in a really nice home right now. A good friend of mine sold it to me, so thank you very much, Will.
Thank you.
I just want to putter around here. One of my neighbors is coming over tomorrow to help me clear a tree that fell down.
Oh,
it's nice.
Yeah.
So just puttering around outside. When the weather gets warm, I'll do a bit more gardening. Things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, you do have a beautiful home in a nice neighborhood. So yeah, definitely get outside, enjoy that, enjoy the trails. And I heard a little rumor that you might have had your pool opened up already.
That is true. I think that we sort of lucked out there because we opened it up extremely early. And now I'm not sure if people are able to open their pools temporarily. So. We did luck out, but it's still too cold to swim.
It's still too cold to swim, but I may remember that wasn't on the list of things that you wanted. I hope you're using it. How? Sorry,
we love it though.
Awesome. So, what is it like at the hospital or clinic right now?
So I work, mainly I was working in the clinic and working with a group of physicians rounding on inpatients, so people that were admitted to the hospital. So I'm still doing that, but both places have changed quite a bit now. The hospital, so Georgian Bay General Hospital has done a tremendous job getting prepared for what's to come. So there's a lot of things I had to think about. So, if someone came into the emergency department and you thought that they might have the coronavirus, that you thought they might have COVID-19, or if you didn't think that they had it, but they did, what are some of the protocols you have in place to make sure that you're protecting healthcare workers, the rest of the hospital staff, and other patients? So, especially all the flow coming through the emergency department, you need to think about every step and how you're doing this to minimize any risk to everyone else. And you also want to make sure that if someone comes in and needs to be admitted for other reasons, that later on down the road, you're not exposing them to the virus from someone else.
Yeah.
So looking at the emergency department, the inpatient units, the diagnostic imaging, they have to figure out all these policies and ways to make sure everyone was safe. And thankfully, we've had time to sort this out. So thankfully, we haven't had a big exponential boom in the COVID-19 cases in our community yet. But at the very least, we're going to be more prepared for it. Compared to other cities or countries that got more caught off guard, those are the ones that suffered the most when they didn't have these things well thought out.
That's good news.
So
That's good news.
To Georgian Bay General.
Yeah, good.
In our clinic,
Awesome.
It's similar because in our office, we're still physically there most of the time, but we're trying to minimize the risk to any of our patients coming. So that means whenever I'm in the clinic, I'm wearing full PPE or personal protective equipment. So, like a scrub cap and goggles and a mask and some scrubs and things to try to protect myself. And we ask other patients to wear masks as well. We minimize any type of in-person appointments if possible. So probably like 90 to 95% of all appointments now have been switched over to phone or video.
Really?
And only a few people actually have to come in person. If there's something I really need to do an exam to figure out, if there's a baby that needs an immunization, those are some reasons why you might need to be seen in person.
Tough to immunize over the...
we try to space it out so that there should never be like two people in the waiting room at the same time.
Okay, so you cut
a room between each patient. So we're trying to do all of the best we can to minimize the risk to the patient.
So it sounds like the pandemic has cut down wait times.
So that's true. Because maybe I don't need that regular follow-up. And phone calls for the most part can be fairly quick. So you can often reach out and get in touch with your physician pretty quickly these days.
Could you see this being something that continues on? Like even after the pandemic, like, hey, you know what? We're going to do a follow-up with you, but we're going to book it. We got a 5-minute phone call, and that's going to start freeing up doctor's times into the future.
Right. So there are like a number of times where we would be doing that anyway.
Oh, cool.
The trouble before is that there was no incentive to do that, or there's no incentive to cancel an in-person appointment for a phone appointment.
Gotcha.
And really, like, if you can do it, an in-person appointment is better because you're able to do more of a physical exam. You can check their blood pressure, seeing a little bit more of the cues to try to pick up on certain things. That can be really therapeutic and beneficial and more helpful with us trying to figure out what's going on.
I agree with you 100%.
It's not a great substitution, but it's sort of like the second best.
Okay,
These days, the government has made it a little bit easier for us to swallow that idea of switching over to phone and video. But I hope that they continue to make things easy so that we can have at least a portion of our time devoted to phone and video appointments. Because I do think that would be really beneficial for some types of patients, but not the whole thing.
Not for everybody, and I would totally agree. But if it could cut out even 25 or 20 or 15% of those, like, oh no, you're doing pretty good. I'll call you in a week, and we'll just have that quick chat. But yeah, I totally agree because when you're in person, you can see more about the person's reactions or what they're saying, and it's a little bit easier to read on, so to speak, right? So you can pick up.
Sometimes I could be talking to someone about, hey, you really need this blood pressure medication to control your blood pressure, and I can see on their face they're not going to take this blood pressure medication. So it cues me to say, okay, let's explore that more. What are your hesitations and stuff? And I may not pick that up on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, his tone of voice might be like, oh yeah, thanks, doc, and you're like, okay. No, for sure. That's pretty awesome. And now, what can people do if they want to help our frontline medical team?
I would say a few things. So one would be if you have PPE, personal protective equipment, any of those types of supplies that you can donate, either donate to the hospital, the GBGH Foundation, or to family doctors, that would be really useful. Things like masks, face shields, hand sanitizer, cleaning products, those sort of things that could be really useful. There's a couple of ways to do that. If you check out the GBGH Foundation website, I think they have a link about how to donate to the hospital. And there are, businesses that may have those things, like construction companies, estheticians, veterinarians. Like, there's a lot of different places that may have some of those supplies. So that would be a great thing. Number two would be trying your best to be following a lot of the guidelines from public health to minimize the growth of COVID-19 in our community. So the more we can try to keep it at bay, the better equipped our hospital will be at treating everyone as they come in, both people that have this virus and people that come in for other reasons, with a heart attack, with a stroke, with a broken bone. We want to make sure there's enough availability and staffing for them as well. So by trying to make sure you're washing your hands, not touching your face, trying to stay at home as much as possible, minimizing any trips outside, like going to the grocery store, staying home if you have any symptoms of anything, whether or not you think it's COVID-19. If you're symptomatic with any type of viral illness like that, it's best to stay home until you don't have any more symptoms. So doing all those things, that's going to help out a lot.
Awesome.
I would say probably the last thing is be kind to us, or just make sure that you're aware that this is a crazy time for everyone. It's a crazy time for you guys. It's a crazy time for us. Just trying to get stay on top of all the knowledge coming out, all the new evidence, the new guidelines and recommendations, changing the hospital, changing our clinics, trying to cope with all that, and still having to go to work and trying to do our best and sort of putting our health on the line a little bit. It would be really appreciated for people to at least understand that you don't need to come up to everyone and say thank you. It's just maybe having a little bit more patience, being polite, just knowing that this is a lot on everyone, including us, and that we are really all trying to do our best to help you out. Even though sometimes it can be inconvenient, it may not be what you would prefer to be happening, or there may be a delay in certain procedures or referrals. We're all trying our best.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think Dr. Seuss said it. The 3 ways to success: be kind, and be kind. And I firmly believe that if you do those 3 things constantly, no matter what happens, you'll feel a little more fulfilled in your life, and the success comes from fulfillment. So do those things and you'll find that fulfillment, and others will also enjoy being around you. It's win-win. Great, Hanni. Thank you so much for your time. I also understand you started a little bit of trivia.
I did join a trivia group, on Zoom.
On Zoom. Well, that is fantastic. I've got a few trivia questions for you. And considering it's National Doctors Day, I figured we'll do some doctor trivia.
Okay.
Are you ready? All right, question 1. What famous physician and medical inventor was first to introduce the mobile blood bank, and his childhood home is in Gravenhurst? And I think I might have given you too much information. But I can give you multiple choice, or you can guess. What would you prefer?
I don't know, so why don't we do multiple choice?
Okay, we got Dr. Frederick Banting, Dr. Norman Bethune, and Dr. William Osler.
What about Norman Bethune?
It is Norman Bethune. Ding, 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 ding. Fantastic. All right. What basketball star for the Philadelphia 76ers in 1983 was nicknamed Dr. J?
I have no idea.
Okay. Would you like me? Okay. So it could be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, could be Michael Jordan, it could be Magic Johnson, or it could be Julius Erving.
Let's say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
You know what? That's what I said too, and we were both wrong. It's Julius Erving. Okay, Theodore Geisel wrote nearly 50 books for children and was awarded a special Pulitzer Prize in 1984. What was the pen name he used for his books?
That's Dr. Seuss.
That is Dr. Seuss. What doctor began as a TV show in the UK in 1963? Oh, Dr. Emily got the right answer. Julius Erving. Yeah. So I think just maybe like a little bit before our time for 1983. But you knew the 1984 one, so never mind. That's no excuse. That's no excuse, Hanni. So which Doctor began as a TV show in 1963? It was a science fiction program. Do you need more? And there were adventures with time travel and bad guys.
The Doctor Who?
Yes, it is. All right. George Clooney played an emergency room doctor from 1994 to 1999 on the TV show ER. What was his character's name in that series?
I have no idea. I did watch some of that when I was growing up. I was like, 10, 12 years old.
It could be, and you know what? I'll wait a little bit. I'll give people a chance to answer. Does anybody know what it is? I'm sure somebody's going to know. Dr. Doug Ross, Dr. Peter Benton, Dr. Mark Green, or Dr. John Carter. What would your guess be?
Can you say them again?
Dr. Doug Ross, Dr. Peter Benton, Dr. Mark Green, and Dr. John Carter.
Is it Peter Benton?
No, I think it does sound like he was from a TV show. I don't know, but it was Doctor. Does anybody know? I'm waiting for anybody who would have maybe watched ER. Anybody? I don't know. I thought it had a pretty big following. It lasted a long time, 5 years. Anyways, it was Dr. Doug Ross.
I knew the bottom two characters. I just didn't know the top two.
Yeah, I don't know who any of them are. Honestly, Dr. McDreamy. There we go. That's his name. That's all we need to know. Well, we've got a few winners here, and there's some more. I think maybe there's a bit of a delay on it on the me seeing the comments, but there is. I've got a bunch of right answers here, so that is fantastic. Yeah. Well, Hanni, thank you for taking the time out of your busy days and your busy life and the family time, and really appreciate you joining me tonight.
Yeah, for sure. It was fun.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, it was really fun, and well, like you said, the in-person stuff is way better. So I'm looking forward to this all being over, like I'm sure everybody else is, and we'll get together and have a barbecue, and it'd be nice to see you again.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, take care. Thanks again. We'll talk soon. Okay. See you, Hanni.